Latitude, brand new show on the Gulf Coast by ladies, for ladies, where we are loving life. How many of y'all are loving life? Woo! We are talking about keeping the heart healthy and happy. We've got a great show, so stay tuned. We've got a great show for you. We want to welcome our studio audience. Thank you for being here so much. Got a great crowd. If you're watching by live stream, welcome to Latitude. We are talking about keeping the heart healthy today for a happy tomorrow and keeping that beat. Let's give a round of applause for our panel, can we? Yeah. We want to welcome Lydia Tonis, a registered nurse. And please tell us again your title.
I work in interventional radiology at one of the local hospitals.
So you see the heart conditions in and out, and you're very familiar with keeping the heart healthy and tips. And Shannon Erdwins, let's give Shannon a round of applause. Welcome back to Latitude. Definitely no stranger.
Love to be on this show.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, good times. And Ashley Jacobs, registered dietitian in 3 states.
Well, I'm licensed in 3 states.
Licensed in 3 states. And what states are those?
Georgia, North Carolina, and presently Florida.
You've heard it here, folks. Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. You can watch out. So we are talking about the heart and keeping the heart healthy. And this is kind of a part 2 in the series that we're doing, looking at the fact that heart disease is the #1 killer among women, and how are we living in order to take care of our heart and keeping the heart healthy. And Lydia, I would ask you, what are some of the symptoms of an unhealthy heart that you may see in the medical field?
Very good question. Whenever you think of heart disease, first thing that comes to your mind, oh, heart attacks. Well, that's a small percentage of actually what heart disease entitles. There's a whole lot more involved, the whole vascular system. We're talking arteries, we're talking veins and capillaries. We're interested when we talk heart disease in all of that. And I actually was thinking about all my patients combined, what is the most prevalent thing with all my female patients, and it would actually be high blood pressure.
High blood pressure.
And that is a well-known medical name for it is the silent killer, because there are no obvious symptoms that you can experience unless you are in the later stages of uncontrolled high blood pressure. But initially, you have no idea. Whenever your blood pressure is extremely high, you'll feel nauseated, you'll have this headache, you'll be dizzy, you'll feel like your blurred vision. Call ER, 911.
Immediately.
Yes, but what's hard about high blood pressure is that you don't know that you have it. And so standards.
And that's so true, Lydia. I hate to interrupt you, but you know, 2/3 of the people who actually die from a cardiac incident, they don't even have any symptoms. They don't even know that
scary.
You know, they've been at risk for some time, and prevention is key. You know, the common mistake I see is that they wait until it gets too late to decide they want to change. You know, so it even begins at a young age. You know, because
How young?
Well, now.
Now, just start now.
Right, the sooner the better, because odds
Start
are,
yesterday.
if you're American, you're probably eating wrong. You know, because just the culture and our food environment, it's very toxic to our health.
I've got 30-year-olds actually who are having the complications of sustained uncontrolled blood pressure. Your risks are if you're happen to be Native. Nope. If you're African American, you do have a higher risk factor for that. If you're male, if you are a lower socioeconomic status, that doesn't mean all poor people have high blood pressure. It's just because of the financial issues, they're not able to seek out preventative medical care. So that class is determined a higher risk for high blood pressure.
Family history is that one. I know how many of you go to the doctor and you got to fill out the forms.
It's
like, really? I've got to go.
I know. I am so healthy. There's no way. You have got your mother, your mother's mother, your father, and her sister and their brothers. Okay, genetics plays a really, really big
You've almost got
factor.
to go into an ancestry.
Genetics does play a role, but you do need to know that it's just because your mother had it doesn't mean that has to be your destiny.
That's
you know what I mean?
good,
It's
yeah.
all about prevention. So knowing that is good.
And that's an important mindset too, because how many people say, well, it's been in my family.
And they get a
Mama
little
had
lax on
it.
their health
Yeah.
habits. You know, they think, well, you know, I'm just destined to have heart disease, so I might as well eat what I want.
If God created our body, should we really be accepting,
That's right.
you know, when we
Right.
can take action?
Right, exactly.
That's
And
really good.
everybody's like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. You do not, if you do not have time, you've got to make time because you're going to end up like they were talking about. You're just, somebody's going to have a sign and they don't even know it and they passed out. So you've
To answer, what are you making time for? Actually, to know what your blood pressure is. So, from our audience members, who actually knows their baseline blood pressure? Okay, a couple. The rest of you
mine the other day.
failed. No, just kidding.
Oh boy.
Actually, okay.
on my living room floor, she checked it.
I mean, like,
No, that was
even
my heart rate.
out of us, do you know your blood pressure?
No, not really.
Okay.
I know my big number. I think my big number was.
I got an idea.
Well, there's two numbers. What are the two numbers?
You have, it looks like a fraction, but you have the top number and a bottom number with a line between it. And the top number is your systolic blood pressure. It is actually the force of blood going through your veins against your wall of the veins, and it's actually measured at the time that the heart closes, the contraction. So the time that the heart closes and it's forcing everything in there, it's the highest pressure your veins are going to experience. And normal, according to the American Heart Association, is anywhere from 90 to 120. If you happen to have a blood pressure with the top number being 130, that is no longer acceptable. Back in the 80s, that would be okay, but research shows that's too high. So keeping it 120 to 90 on the top number. And your bottom number is that heart of yours actually pumps and then it relaxes and
That's
the blood.
the diastolic,
That's the diastolic actually number, and that's whenever your heart is at rest. Considering your heart's beating, 60 times a minute, there's actually a small rest period, and that's when your veins basically come back smaller, and that's your resting blood pressure. So, if you don't know your blood pressure, the first thing you need to do is, out of our million Walmarts here in the Gulf Coast, find one.
Plug for Walmart.
Yeah, I know. Call me. My address is, it's in the check too. Go to the pharmacy and actually sit at one of those machines. Put your arm in there. Don't just run around Walmart and then put your arm in. Actually sit for a couple seconds
Do
because
they really work though? When you get in there and then
Well, I
they
tried it yesterday, and it was a good number according to Lydia.
It was a good number.
number.
Because I saw this poor man, he just kept trying, and I was like,
But it's important to do that
those
at
machines
rest.
can give
was
you a heart
bored.
attack themselves. So
You have to do it at rest.
Has there been
like,
any report of people getting heart attacks from this machine?
okay, sorry.
So you're at rest.
You have
at
to do
rest.
it at rest, not when you've just finished a sprint. So it's, when you're calm, cool, and collected.
makes sense.
And it tells you not to move or not to talk during the test.
Oh, I
So
was
maybe
taking that
that's
test, and I was right there.
but you don't talk actually through the test because even talking raises your blood pressure. So you sit down, you take your blood pressure, and your resting blood pressure is going to determine if you are in a bad range, good, or or not so good. And that's whenever you actually need to seek out medical assistance. We have so many easy ways to control your blood pressure, whether it's through stress management classes or actually seeing a physician and getting help with that.
And speaking of controlling blood pressure, the number one way you can do it is through diet. Most people control their blood pressure through medication, and they think that that's the end all. But you have to start first and be proactive with your diet, right? And salt. A lot of people are salt sensitive. That means like when they eat salt, your body actually retains water, which creates a larger volume for your heart to actually pump of the blood. So what that does is that taxes your heart, and it adds more stress to your heart, which could ultimately lead to a heart attack or one of those,
Congestive heart failure.
right, or stroke. So salt is very important. And now if you're talking in terms of numbers, what should I be looking out for? Well, the American Heart Association recommends 2,000 milligrams or less, okay? That equates to almost about a teaspoon, okay?
Now, what about sea salt? Because you've got your
Right.
mine salt, but then
Right.
you've got your sea salt.
The key word here is salt. Okay.
There's just no way around it.
It's salt, whether it comes from the sea or it comes from the shelf. It's salt. Now you do have things that don't use sodium, because sodium is the electrolyte that we're speaking of in specific. But with sea salt, it's actually 30% less sodium than the normal, salt that you get off the shelf. So in relativity, speaking, it's probably a little healthier than the regular salt. But if you're just gonna take the salt shaker and just keep sprinkling it,
stay away.
It's still bad for you. Anything in excess is bad. That's our problem. Salt is not bad for you, but if you're dumping the whole can on there, it's bad for you.
But that extra shake really, it makes it taste better.
Taste your food before you shake it. That's the one thing I see. People don't even taste their food before they shake it. So taste it and then shake.
We may not be needing as much salt as
And not only food is important, but a healthy mind. I've found personally, but my coworkers also were talking. I mean, the stress level at work is unbelievable that people experience.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't stop to think about it, but if our mind is unhealthy, then the rest of our body is going to be
bad
unhealthy.
habits. That leads into emotional eating, like we talked previously, which leads into unhealthy lifestyles.
That's so true.
I guess to put into perspective, the whole stretching and the shrinking of the blood vessels, what does it really mean? Your vessels, and specifically your arteries, are made to go, like a floppy board, basically, a thin piece of plywood flopping around. But if you think of it, if it's actually continually stretched like this, it actually it can have chronic ripping here and here and here, and your body does a great job repairing itself, so it'll attach like a patch basically on it. And if you don't keep your cholesterol down, then you get lots of patching, but you get patches here, and then chronic uncontrolled blood pressure will rip again, and it's a patch on top of patch, and before you know it, you will have the most clogged arteries. I mean, they'll just be plaque through. A lot of complications, and one in particular is stroke. In fact, 80% of all strokes that happen are due to uncontrolled high blood pressure. And so it's actually very important to maintain a low pressure in your body, because if not, I mean, it just so happens to send it either straight to your brain for a stroke or straight to your heart for a heart attack.
You mentioned cholesterol too, and that plays. How does that play into diet along with low blood pressure and keeping all that?
Oh, well, it's extremely important. Fat, it leads to clogged arteries. Now,
You've got your good cholesterol and your bad cholesterol.
right, and you also have your good fats and your bad fats.
Oh, is that like the little angels and you got one whispering?
To put it simply, you have your saturated and your unsaturated. So your saturated is the fat that's solid at room temperature, okay? And your unsaturated is the stuff that's liquid at room
Like
temperature.
olive oil.
Exactly. I don't like to talk too much about, which fat you should eat, be it olive oil or another heart healthy oil. It's all, the liquidier it is, the better it is for you, okay? And as it relates back to what's your good fat and your bad fat that your liver actually processes, you have your LDLs and your HDLs.
Well, this is a good time to ask the audience a question, because
well, let's hear it.
actually I know April Hammonds. She's a marathon runner. So for her to ask this question, can you explain the difference between LDL and HDL cholesterol?
Right. I certainly can. Okay. The LDL, I like to tell the layperson, basically it's like your lazy cholesterol. Your liver makes it, but what it does, its primary function in the body is to transport fat from the liver to the other parts of the body. And the reason it's bad is because it actually can deposit fat into your cell vessel, well, your blood vessels, like the capillaries that we were talking about before, and form plaque. What your HDLs do are they're like little scavengers. They go and they take the fat that's actually in the lining of the blood vessels and returns it back to the liver. So that's why it's good to have high levels of HDL as opposed to LDLs.
So what can you find? Where can you find your good
Well, HDLs, in order to increase those levels, I mean, it has something to do with diet. You want a diet that's high in fiber. And high in fiber, I mean, you want anywhere from 25 to 30 grams of fiber daily. But in addition to that, let's see,
Get you some Fiber One cereal.
Right, you can do that. You know, you want to start off slow. You want to start off slow though, because sometimes if you're using artificial fibers, like FiberCon or all those good things, they cause gas. And, but you know, it's important.
It's okay, ladies. We all get it.
It's important to listen to your body because you know you do want regular bowel movements. If you're not having one on a daily basis, something is wrong. Okay, something is wrong. So another way,
fiber's our friend.
Right, another way to increase those HDL levels is physical activity. That is so important. You should do that just as often as you brush your teeth. You know, at least 30 minutes a day. That will help keep your heart toned.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, we have got to cut to a quick break. DJ, you want to cue it up? You have been watching Latitude, and we are talking about the heart and keeping it healthy and happy. Don't go away. We've got a great fashion segment coming up you won't want to miss. Stay tuned.
Looking for a new career? How about a future in movie and video production? Training classes are now available in Pensacola. In this 10-week hands-on training course, you will learn lighting, audio, editing with iMovie and Final Cut Pro, camera operations, multi-camera shooting, and much, much more. If you are looking for a change or just an exciting career, don't let this opportunity pass you by. For more information, visit www.digitalmediaeducation.com or call 877-816-7655.
Welcome back to Latitude. We've got a great show going on. We were talking about keeping a healthy heart today for tomorrow. Ladies, thank you so much. Now, before we cut to break, we were talking about good fats, bad fats, HDLs, LDLs, and all that. Fiber, yes, a lot of discussion on fiber. But moving into how that, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can lead to overweight, and how that, talk about how that puts a toll on our hearts.
Okay, another big risk factor for heart disease is overweight and obesity. Now, I've struggled with weight all my life, and I continue to struggle with it, but because I'm equipped with the knowledge, like nutrition knowledge, I do try to practice that every day. And the thing about it was, when I initially entered into nutrition, when I got to learn more about it, you know, and not just for outward appearance, you know, today's society, we can get so hung up on how we look on the outside, and if we don't look as good on the outside as we are on the inside, then what does that really speak for us? You know, so one of the things that really struck me is when they were telling me that, you know, I could potentially at the age of 21, you know, be at risk for heart disease, not just because of the weight I carried, you know, but you know, just because of my overall lifestyle. And there's one scripture, it's Matthew 6:25, and it says, "Is not the life more important than food, or the body more important than clothes?" And that really speaks to me because, I mean, life is a gift, you know, that you are supposed to use. And I feel like me going to school and learning more about nutrition, I've been prepared so that I can tell others and share with others my story. You know, it's hard at first, but you know, once you start to change your lifestyle, it becomes easier.
And how does that put a toll on the heart, whether you're overweight? And I'm sure as a dietitian you see a lot of that, but also
On the other extreme. Yeah, it's all about balance. Okay, if you're too overweight, it's bad on your heart, and if you're underweight, it's bad on your heart too.
Bulimia or anorexia puts an amazing strain on your heart. Now there's websites out there that it's cool to be Annie, and it's cool to be, it's very, very dangerous. And it is not a disease. If you're sitting here listening to this show,
well, why is it cool? What is that image that they're putting out?
Because they're putting extremeness, like extreme thinness, or this is good. You know, God created us each uniquely, and yes, we need to be healthy. That's the key issue, is to be who you are.
Exactly.
And it is a wound to the soul. Your mind, your will, and your emotions is the struggle that women are facing with weight. It is not a disease or of overeating. It is an emotional wound to the soul or to the mind.
And it's so much pressure to try to conform to that idea of what everybody thinks you should look like. You know, you see the cover of magazines, but you know what? You can look just like that girl on the cover. What they do is they airbrush it. They don't tell you that. They airbrush those covers, you know, so it's kind of impossible to reach that ideal. And being who you are, in God is what's most important, you know. Taking care of the life that he gave you and the body that he gave you is what's most important.
I was reading an article on Carrie Underwood today, and it said that she still does her shopping. She'll go into the grocery store. I mean, she's got to be all that in front of the camera. She says she will not eat anything that she doesn't know what's in it, and that she does exercise, but she has to make sure she doesn't come.
So in other words, anything you can't pronounce.
Right.
Stay away from
And if it says salt or sodium, don't eat it.
Right, but
if it's in a bag, don't eat
it. Stay away from those. If you can't spell it or you can't pronounce it, it's probably best to keep it
So
on the
what
shelf.
does, under this guise of being anorexic or being ultra thin and that being cool, what does that actually do to the heart?
Well, the thing with anorexia is that when you have starved your body to a point of, extreme, your electrolytes get low. And your body runs on electrolytes. Like sodium is important. Too much sodium is bad for you. It can raise your too little sodium is just as bad because it can actually slow your heart rate down. And you see a lot of times people who are anorexic and underweight have heart attacks. I mean, one would never think, you're small. How could you have a heart attack? But it's all about balance. It's about eating right.
Not eating right, they have a lack of iron, so they therefore become anemic. And you check their blood levels, and they are like rock bottom below, like, where we say that's not compatible with life because they're so low and their body's trying to compensate and trying to keep alive. But I mean, it is risky.
Heart disease is not cool.
No.
What's cool is loving your life and thanking God for it and living in the temple in the way that He's called you to and taking those preventative measures. Well, we've got an exciting segment. I want to introduce Miss Bonnie Lee Cuevas. Let's welcome her. She comes up. She is beauty editor for Scorch Magazine, an online magazine for plus-size women?
It is.
Is that right?
It is. It's a digital magazine for full-figured women.
So tell us just real briefly what you do with Scorch.
Scorch is an amazing publication. The publisher and owner is Jessica Kane. She's a full-figured goddess. She's gorgeous. They educate women on fashion and style, and they also educate women on living a healthy lifestyle. We do not embrace obesity at all. We definitely educate women. I'm also the fitness contributor for them. So we educate on eating healthy and looking your best and embracing your curves, but living an active lifestyle.
So just loving your life, even no matter what weight or what stage we are. We say we'll start today. Well, somebody says, well, I'm in this body that I have, but we can still love it, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's another thing with starting today. We have all this education, but if you don't do it, it does no good. And so your mind is very key because you have to make up your mind.
That's right.
And once you make that mind up, it's set, and then you actually start applying your knowledge. Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about dressing for the body type. Because whether we're full-figured or whether we're skinny minis, how do we dress?
Absolutely. We're going to have some models come up. We're going to have our first model, Dana, come up.
Let's cue it up.
Now, I'm going to move up just a little bit. She is a fantastic model. Now, depends on what you want to accentuate. She loves that she has curves. She is a pear shape, but I don't like to use fruits because I don't want to be compared to a fruit. So, she's a body type.
So what is pear shape?
Larger hips, your narrow shoulders and defined waist.
That's better on the heart too.
Yes.
Being pear shaped.
Absolutely. You definitely want to distract attention from the hips, but Dana, she's a beautiful young girl and she wants to accentuate her hips, so she has on skinny jeans. I definitely recommend if you're smaller, if you do wear skinny jeans, always with heels, never with flats. She also has on a black tank top.
And drop-dead gorgeous yellow heels.
She does. She has some wonderful accessories from the local boutique, Vivace. She has the watch, a beautiful ring, and yellow earrings as well. But again, she is an A body type. Larger hips, narrow shoulders, defined waist. I'm gonna have her turn very nicely. Thank you.
And why is a pear shape better for the heart?
Because when you carry more weight around your central area, the abdomen, that's more fat in your organs, and that's more stress on your heart. So it's better to carry it down at the lower area.
If you're gonna carry it there.
Right, exactly. Bootylicious.
No, she did it. No, she didn't.
For those that want to know what things to wear, halter, straps, pants that flare, V-neck lines for this specific body type. Again, thank you, Dana. She's a wonderful Zumba instructor in the area, and we're so thankful to have her. We have our next model, who is a full-figured model. She is a wonderful mom, an aspiring makeup artist. This is Christy. She has, again, accessories from Versace, a beautiful black and white bag, a beautiful cuff from there. Now, she has on fantastic jeans from, tell us again?
Oh, these are fantastic.
Fragile. And it is a wonderful company that makes clothes for full-figured women. Again, flared at the bottom, black top that flares out at top to hide, our tummy trouble areas, as well as it's okay to wear tighter, slim-fitting jeans, but again, as long as they open at the bottom. Boot cut, bell bottoms. Again, can we have her turn? Definitely. And thank you very much. This is Kirsty.
Why is it better for fuller figure women to wear flared out jeans?
You want to create a long leg look. You want to look taller. If you're short and full figured like me, our trouble areas are our tummy. So again, you want to flare out your top so it looks, you're hiding again the tummy, the bulge, anything you want to specifically hide, and you want to make yourself look like you have long legs, slim as possible. We don't want to accentuate our waist because this is our trouble area. Our next model is a beautiful model, Becky. She is a hairstylist. And she is wearing, again, accessories from Versace, a red watch, a little clutch bag, a beautiful scarf as we head into fall in about a month and a half, a few months soon. Again, she's very tall. You can definitely wear heels, but we definitely wanted the boot cut, long, open flared jeans, as you can see. You can also accentuate up top. She has a very even body, so she can accentuate her waist, accentuate her long legs, definitely wear a scarf, accentuate.
Now she's got a very tall torso as
She
well.
does, and we would also consider her an hourglass shape for various reasons. She has balanced shoulders and hips, and she has a very small waist. So you want to show off the waist, avoid boxy cuts on those areas. Suggestions are pencil skirts, fitted tees, and fitted jackets look great on this type of body. Thank you so much, Becky.
Thank you, Becky. So what are some other great fashion tips? You talk about stripes and how stripes work.
Being bold. You don't necessarily have to wear black. Black is slimming, but definitely wearing black slacks, a yellow top, black slacks, a pink top. Always, definitely, for us full-figured women, we want to slim our lower half, accentuate other body parts. And also, if you have curves and you want to embrace them like Dana does, absolutely do that, accentuate it. But if you look in the mirror and something doesn't feel right, or you're not sure, that probably means that you should not wear it, you should not buy it. I also want to give some suggestions for plus-size women. We really have hard times finding, clothes that fit us. We have some designers, Abby Z, B and Lou, Gayla Bentley, Monique C, Sealed with a Kiss, voluptuous clothing. These are designers that make clothing to fit our body types. It's very hard to find things, and also getting measured. Undergarments for ladies, definitely going out, that can slim you down by wearing proper undergarments.
Well, ladies, we've had a great discussion and a great show, and we want to thank again our studio audience so much. If you've been watching live, thank you for joining us. Thanks so much for our panel. We've been talking about keeping a healthy heart today for a happy tomorrow. Remember, God has created us to live and to love life and to take care of our bodies to serve Him for tomorrow. Thanks so much. You've been watching Latitude. Dance it out. Dance it out. Dance it out. Heartbeat.